Well, hello everybody. Here we are. It's 8:30 and guess what we're going to talk about tonight? We are going to be talking about how sugar makes you fat. So, everybody who is sitting around in their fat pants, hi Alicia, maybe you don't have fat pants and skinny pants anymore. That used to be a thing. Maybe now you just sit around in your yoga pants so that you have lots of room for all of the sugar that you ate over the holidays. But it's January of 2018 and you're ready for a new start, right? Hi Maria, hi Annie. Hi, Christy. Hi, Stacia. Thanks everybody for joining me. I really appreciate you being here. And this is really something that we need to talk about because if you don't know why or how you gain fat cells, how will you ever lose them? Right? I mean, every successful diet in the history of mankind cuts sugar to lose weight. Did you know that? Always. Always. Hi, Diane. Hi, Christy. Hi, Jennifer. Thanks, everybody, for being here. This is kind of a fun topic. What I want you to get out of tonight is just to understand what we're talking about, and that will help you to make a difference and to get some control and power back. Okay? So, hi, Josh. Sugar. First, I need you to know what it is. Okay? Let's think about, since today's Wednesday, on Monday, I challenged you to drink water this whole week for that to be the only fluid that you're drinking. Even though some of you asked me, can I have some coffee? Can I have some tea? Can I have this or that? Even though some of the things you may have asked aren't bad, I said no. I said, no, no, no. You need to drink water, water, water because water's so very important. But do you know the other reason that was the first challenge? And next Monday, I'm going to give you your second challenge. Okay. But do you know why? Most people, here's a quote out of a book called The World is Fat. And actually, after tonight, I'm going to post an article. It's either going to go out in an email or it's going to be on my website. I haven't decided which just yet. If you haven't been to drkellyfelmer.com to sign up for those emails, please go ahead and do that because I try to get some written content out besides just the Facebook videos. So I'm always trying to get more information out to you. So go to the website, make sure that you sign up, and thank you for always sharing the videos. That helps me reach people that you know that I don't know, but that need this information. So the quote from Barry Popkin from The World is Fat. Nothing has contributed more to our weight gain than the clash between our drinking habits and our biology. What on earth does that mean? Thanks, Jennifer. I appreciate that. That means you're drinking a ton of sugar and calories. Think about when you drink a glass of fruit juice. It is completely full of sugar. Even though you think that that's something better than a soda for you, that glass of fruit juice has a ton more fructose that we're going to talk about than that soda. Now, I'm not saying soda is good for you, but I'm saying when you drink your fruit, you are getting a ton of sugar, and that plays a role with what we're going to talk about tonight too. Okay, so you can eat your fruit, you shouldn't be drinking your fruit. And that's why when we talk about juicing, I always try to clarify we're juicing vegetables. We're not talking about juicing fruit. Okay, that's where people get a big mistake. So many people are so overweight because they drink so many calories and they never change what they're eating. So sugar is actually more of a generic term for anything sweet. And I'm going to go into what sugar is just a little bit because tonight I do not want to talk all about all of the different types of sugars, but I want to make sure that you understand what we are talking about. So a simple sugar is one sugar, like glucose, which is also dextrose. That's the same thing. Glucose and dextrose are the same. Fructose and galactose, all examples of one sugar sugars, simple sugars. Table sugar is actually two sugars. It is both glucose and fructose. Absolutely right, Alicia. We're going to talk about that too. Not a lot about that, but I'm going to tell you that that definitely happens. Table sugar is a disaccharide, meaning two sugars, glucose and fructose. That's what we're mainly going to be talking about tonight. But I just gave you an example that all of your fruits have fructose. We're going to talk a little bit about high fructose corn syrup, and I'm actually going to talk about that more on Monday and show you all the different places where it is that you need to get out of your diet. But tonight we're talking about sucrose, which is your table sugar, your basic table sugar, that is glucose and fructose. It's a combination. But there's other disaccharides like maltose that comes from beer. So all of you people with great big beer bellies, there is not beer in there. That is from sugar in your beer. And I'm going to show you how that creates all of that fat that gave you that great big belly. Same thing with lactose. That's a disaccharide found in milk. Then there's these longer sugars, longer chains of their chemical makeup. Those are polysaccharides. And then sugar alcohols we talk about sometimes too. Those are long, but they're actually not considered a sugar. They're shaped different, they're absorbed differently or not absorbed at all, so they're actually a different category. But what I want you to know is that sugar is the culprit. Sugar creates inflammation that we talk about all the time. Inflammation is the basis for every disease. And sugar gets stored in fat cells. And you know what else? This one's really going to hurt you. Sugar makes us get old. Yeah, truly. It's because of how our bodies react with sugar. It's actually the sugar is what ages us, according to Nora Getagos from Primal Body, Primal Mind. Okay, I'm going to give you a long resource reference list of all of these different books that explain everything that I'm talking about tonight from different examples. So this video is the Cliff Note version of about 12 different books, just so you get the main point that sugar and then insulin resistance is the problem of why you've gained weight or why you're obese or why you can't lose weight. And I'm going to show you that in a minute. I'll explain it a little bit better. I'm trying to lead up to that, okay? So glucose is actually what ages us, but in Primal Mind, Primal Body, she also goes on to say that fructose does it 20 to 30 times more that it ages us. Okay, that's really important to understand because I'm going to show you where all the fructose is, and you are not going to want to be eating that when it ages you that much more because the sugar binds with the protein and the protein then can't work right. So everything that people blame on getting old is actually because of all the sugar that you eat or that you have eaten. It ages your body. It doesn't let the cells in your body work properly, or then the tissues or the organs and everything. Hi, Judy. Hi, Joy. Hi, Alex. Oh my God, Alex says there's 257 names for sugar. I don't even want to go down that road, but he's probably right. Okay, so it's this combination of the sugar and the protein that cause us to go through this process called glycation, and that's what breaks down our body and makes us age. So it's not because you're 40 that you're having a problem. It's because you ate so much sugar and you're overweight, and that causes more inflammation. Hi, Starla. Nice to see you. Okay, so I'm going to show you a diagram in just a little bit, but it's this problem of eating sugar, and then the body has to create insulin, secrete insulin so that you can use it. Because sugar gives you energy, right? We need energy. We need to be able to make energy from the food that we eat, and sugar is a source of that. But then we have to have insulin. And I'm going to change the camera view here for you. In, where did it go? Here we go. Sorry about that. I'm going to change the camera view. And then we're going to look at this graph because I'm hoping that this simplifies what I've just said for you. And then we're going to go into the what and the why and what to do about it. Okay. But the sugar that you eat, the refined carbs, the beer that you're drinking, the milk, remember beer belly, not full of beer, full of fat. Okay. Bad fat. But these sugars are sucrose. It's a disaccharide. 50% is glucose, 50% is fructose. Okay? The glucose makes you secrete insulin. The fructose contributes to you being insulin resistant. What does that mean? Means you keep secreting more insulin and it's not working like it's supposed to work. Over on this side, Monday, I'm going to talk about high fructose corn syrup. Did you know it's in ketchup? Did you know it's in your salad dressing? Did you know it's in almost everything? Because it makes it taste so sweet and so good. And the food manufacturers know that if they add sugar to something, they'll sell more. Everything has sugar added to it because of that fact. Is that good for you? Does the food manufacturers care about making you healthy? No, they're making you sick because they put sugar in everything. And high fructose corn syrup, 55% fructose. Remember I just said that aging problem, that glycation problem, glucose does it. Fructose does it 20 to 30 times more. Wow. Causes insulin resistance. When you're insulin resistant, you can't make ATP. ATP is that Krebs cycle that you learned in high school in biology class of how our cells, how our bodies make energy. So you have less energy, you have fatigue, you become a sloth and you get fatter because you have no energy, so you can't do anything, but you keep on eating and everything has sugar, so then you get more insulin and then you get more fat. Are you following me? So high fructose corn syrup right here, still glucose and fructose. You need insulin to be able to use it. Insulin is also used to store it, but that contributes to insulin resistance. I'm going to flip sides here a little bit. So this is what happens. Simplified version. When you eat, we have to eat to get energy. Food gives us our nutrition. We break it down. We absorb it in the small intestines, and we absorb that nutrition and that sugar. Okay? All these little pink dots, that's blood glucose. Who's had a fasting blood glucose test done? They're looking for diabetes, right? They should be teaching you about how to eat and to not eat so much sugar. But all of that glucose is floating around in the bloodstream. Now your body says, pancreas, which is over here, you need to secrete a hormone. This hormone is called insulin. Insulin is going to help that glucose to get inside the cell. It says, let me open the door for you so glucose can go in the cell and we can use it for energy. But if you don't have much energy, or you're not very active, or you don't do very much, and you don't burn all of that energy that you put in your body, because you're drinking so many calories, you're drinking so much sugar, you're eating so much sugar, there's sugar in everything. You are putting in so much more sugar than your body can use. Guess what happens next? You don't use it, you do not lose this thing. You store it. You store it here, you store it here, and you store it back here. So you eat, you get a lot of glucose in your blood glucose level. The higher the level, the more insulin that's secreted to help get it into the cell. If you don't burn it off, if you don't use it, it creates a fat cell. And then, hey, there's a whole bunch more up there. So insulin says, hey, let me get you in the cell, let me get you in the cell, and let me get you in there, and you get another fat cell, and another fat cell, and another fat cell, and you wonder why you got fat. I hope that makes sense. Hope that kind of makes sense. And then here's the kicker. So the more sugar, the more insulin, the more fat you get. You can't get fat without insulin. Wow. And again, the more sugar, the more insulin, And the more insulin, the more resistance you get to it, the more fat, and then you just get more resistance. So your body keeps making more. And this is a vicious, stupid cycle of more sugar, more insulin, can't use it, get fat. Wow, this is just awful. What's the solution? Let's talk about that. Okay. Oh, hi, Penny. Hi, Tony. I got to change my camera back. Here we go. I hope that helped. Sometimes, people tell me I explain things pretty well, and that's what I described. You eat it, you've got blood sugar, you've got to grab it, get it into a cell. You either use it up or you get fat. Now, what's the reverse of that? Ever think about that? When insulin levels go down because you stop eating all of the sugar, you don't need so much insulin. Insulin levels go down and the body says, hey, we need more energy. We better use that fat cell, and you break down the triglyceride and you use it for energy. The fat cell shrinks and you lose weight and you get to wear your skinny pants. So if you have a lot of sugar, you have a lot of insulin, you make more fat. If you have low levels of sugar, you get low levels of insulin and you use up your fat and you lose weight. That's how it works in your body. Okay. So insulin resistance, we need to talk just a little bit more about that. This is how you know. I want you to listen. I've got 4 things here, and some of them are blood tests, but this first one you're going to be able to know. I mean, most of the time, if you sit down in the mall and you just do a little bit of people watching, you're going to know who's insulin resistant, okay? If your waist circumference, so the measurement around your waist, is bigger than the measurement around your butt, you are insulin resistant. You have to cut down the sugar. Okay, now for all of you men who wear a belt and you wear that belt underneath your big belly, you need to measure around the big part of the belly. The belt size does not count. That's cheating. Okay. If your waist circumference, the measurement around your waist, is bigger than the measurement around your butt, you are insulin resistant. If you've had some blood work done, fasting glucose. Fasting means you haven't eaten for the last 12 hours. If you haven't eaten for 12 hours, your glucose should not be this high. If it's above 95, you're insulin resistant. That means the insulin is not getting it into the cells. It's not working like it should be. You shouldn't still be having so much insulin floating or glucose floating around. So waist circumference, then fasting glucose over 95. Hemoglobin A1C, if that's greater than 6%, you're insulin resistant. And for every 1% that hemoglobin A1C goes up, your risk for developing a cancer, remember somebody else mentioned the link of sugar and cancer, goes up 18%. Every 1% above 6 for a hemoglobin A1C, 18% higher risk for you to get cancer. You wonder why you get cancer? Look at how you're eating. Look at how your family is eating. Look at how your kids are eating. And you think it's okay for them to eat all of the candy from Halloween and they just drowned themselves in that sugar? It's horrible. Joe, to answer your question, why are some sugar addicts super skinny? Because they have a super fast metabolism. They're not putting any good nutrition into their body. They're just constantly in a burn mode of sugar, and they may be doing other kind of addictive things as well. They are just completely nutritionally depleted and using it as fast as it's going in. So they're not making those fat cells. Hi, Vanessa, and hi, Chelsea. Thanks for joining me. Okay, I've mentioned 3 of the 4 things of are you insulin resistant? This is how you know. Waist circumference, bigger than your butt. Fasting glucose over 95. Hemoglobin A1C greater than 6. And if this next one hasn't been tested, you need to ask your doctor to test this. Fasting insulin. Why? Because I just told you why. Glucose is up this high. Where's your insulin level? Insulin levels are high. You're going to be insulin resistant. Okay. So for sure, if that value of insulin, fasting insulin is above 8, you are insulin resistant. And what are the consequences of this? You get fat. You become obese. Did you know, I think I have another statistic in what the article that I was writing about. Oh yeah. So listen to this. A couple of years ago, research article came out, looked at 188 countries, and incredibly, not one of them got thinner in the past 30 years. Each one of them got more obese. Not just gained weight. Each one of those countries got more obese. The Centers for Disease Control, they do such a great job protecting us, keep telling us and showing that America keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And guess what they're blaming it on? Insulin resistance. But this is the mentality of the medical world. Let's think about a diabetic for a minute. And when you get diabetes in adulthood, you've earned it. The 4 things that I just told you about insulin resistance, that's developing diabetes. It's because of the way you've eaten and you haven't used that sugar, and then you've created diabetes, which is becoming insulin resistant. And sometimes, people get put on a medication, and when the medication doesn't work, they also get put on insulin. It's a hormone. But think about this. When their blood sugars are running high and they can't get their blood sugars down, your blood sugars go down when insulin grabs it and pulls it into a cell. So their blood sugars are running high and they're taking insulin and it's not working. They're insulin resistant. What does the doctor do? Gives them more insulin. Okay, well, I just told you that I had a bunch of sugar and I got a bunch of insulin and it's not working. So what are you going to do for me? Well, we're going to give you more insulin, but it's not working. But that's what we do. We give you more insulin. Does that make sense to you? I have worked with so many people who they always talk with the dietitian and they do not necessarily get the best advice because they're so afraid that people are going to get hypoglycemic because of all the medication that they take. They don't want them cutting the sugar. But if they cut out the sugar, they can reverse their diabetes. Yeah, they can. Okay, consequences: obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, cancer, arthritis, and pain. Now, what I showed you on the board over there, there's a whole nother line that I could have put on there about what this creates in your body and how it alters your body and creates pain. Sugar causes pain. Now, there's a few more steps in between there, but the sugar and the high insulin and what that does to your body and the messages that it sends then creates pain. So if you're a person with fibromyalgia, you're a person with arthritis, you're a person who has a lot of pain, sugar is part of the problem. Alzheimer's and autism are also related to sugar intake. Alzheimer's is actually being studied. So Alzheimer's is dementia. What are the 2 biggest things that all of you fear? Right? That the majority of people fear. If you're overweight and you're not happy with that, or you're obese, you know that you want to lose weight. But what diseases do you fear? You fear cancer and you fear dementia or Alzheimer's, that you're going to lose your mind, right? Well, guess what? Alzheimer's is being studied a ton as insulin resistance in the brain. Because your brain needs fat and it needs sugar and energy. But when you become resistant to the insulin, you can't get that into the cells. And then remember that whole glycation process that I talked about with the aging and how it changes the cells? It really just makes them hard and old and crusty. It's doing that to your brain, that glycation. Glucose does that, and fructose does that 20 to 30 times more. You have to cut out the fructose. Okay? Remember I said fructose is in fruits. Does that mean you can't eat any fruit? No, eat the fruit. Eat the orange. Eat the apple. Don't just drink orange juice. Don't just drink apple juice. There's no fiber, and it doesn't have the other properties to mitigate that fructose that you're drinking. Okay? So what causes this insulin resistance? I kind of told you that. It's the excessive amount of sugar, which is glucose and fructose. It's eating fructose. It's eating all of those refined carbohydrates, all of these other things that you don't think are sugary things, like your breads and your pasta and your rice. Your body breaks it down immediately to sugar. So other foods that are really high glycemic, so that means they have a lot of sugar in them. Trans fatty acids, we talk a lot about that in heart disease. So trans fatty acids are what you find in margarine, and it's one step away from being plastic. That clogs up not only your arteries, it clogs up your insulin receptors. If the insulin receptors, which are, insulin's got the key and it's got to fit the key into the door, well, trans fatty acids just clogged up the door keyhole. So it's not going to work. It can't get it in. And guess what? Now you're resistant. It didn't work. My key didn't work in the door. Low levels of omega-3s. Where do we get omega-3s? Typically fish oils, but there are plant sources of omega-3s as well. When you're very low on omega-3s, you tend to have an excess of omega-6. And omega-6 are inflammatory and they're full of sugar. Corn and soy is where you get a ton of omega-6s. We're supposed to be in a ratio of 2-to-1, omega-6 to omega-3. Most people, when they study, are in a ratio of 25-to-1 because you eat corn after corn after corn product or soy. Not good for you. Not good for you at all. In the Wheat Belly book, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with that. That's on my list. Wheat actually has amylopectin A, which is another ingredient that causes insulin resistance. And then there's these things called ceramides, which are toxin fats that cause insulin resistance. You get that from alcohol, which makes your liver inflamed. And because your liver is inflamed, it makes these ceramides. And then if you eat a lot of processed foods, processed cheese, processed meats that have nitrites and nitrates on it, that also creates these ceramides that causes insulin resistance. Another interesting quote from a doctor named Newport from, I'm sorry, I'm stuttering there. Her book is Alzheimer's disease. What if there was a cure? Mary Newport, she's a medical doctor. She wrote it in 2011. And she says that chronic exposure to nitrogen fertilizers. So how many of you are still putting fertilizer on your grass so you have a nice green grass? And nitrates in water that's used to irrigate your crops are contributing to the process of neurodegeneration or dementia, Alzheimer's. So you find it in all of your processed meats and your processed cheeses. It's also in your fertilizer for your lawn, and it's used in water to irrigate your crops, and it's causing dementia. Wow. This creates insulin resistance in your brain. Penny says she's switching from sugar to salt. Way to go, Penny. Good job. So what do you need to do? Stop eating sugar, all of the refined carbohydrates and the wheat. It's causing spikes in your blood glucose, and it's causing spikes in your insulin. There's these other things that I just went through the list. Misty's doing it too. Yay! And it clogs up the insulin receptor, so you become insulin resistant. The more insulin that's around, the more fat cells, because you didn't use up all of that excessive amount of sugar that you ate. You don't use it, you store it as fat, and you get a big butt, and you get big flabby arms, and you get a big waist. Okay, Christy, I got 3 people on board here now. Penny, Misty, and Christy all jumping in, and they're cutting out sugar, and that's going to be fantastic. Okay, so let's think about this. On Monday, I mentioned that I want to talk a little bit more about high fructose corn syrup. And here's another quote from the Primal Body, Primal Mind book. Today, the number one source of dietary calories in America comes from a corn-based industrial sweetener known as high fructose corn syrup. The food industry uses high fructose corn syrup more than any other sweetener because it's cheap to produce, transport, and store. So you are being inundated with this fructose. And what did I tell you? Is glucose worse or is fructose worse? Which one makes us age 20 to 30 times more? Which one directly causes insulin resistance? The fructose. The fructose, the fructose. We've got to get rid of it. So again, I've got a list of about 20 different books that I got from somebody else when I was listening to a webinar all about sugar. And so I copied down the names of these books. Some of them I have read. Some of them I have taken pieces out of, but they're going to be a great resource for you as you want to improve your health. So how does sugar make you fat? Well, it makes you fat because, again, high blood glucose means we have to have high insulin. The more insulin that's around, the more you put that sugar into the fat and store it. The only way to get rid of it is to use up that energy. And despite exercise, which does help with insulin resistance, but you can exercise. Why didn't I lose weight? Well, because you didn't change what you were putting in. And you still have high blood glucose and high levels of insulin. That's where we have to change. We have to change up further in the stream. You got to cut out the fructose. You've got to cut down on the sugar. And then the insulin will come down. And then the fat cells will say, oh, well, I guess it's your turn. We need to use you. And one's gone. And then we need to use another one. And that's how the fat cells shrink. And that's how you get skinny and get to fit into your skinny pants again. So don't throw the skinny pants away. You just got a great tip. I hope you understand it a little bit better and can value that it really is sugar that makes us so sick. I just talked about getting fat, but it causes all health problems and makes them so much worse than they have to be. Okay, and we wonder why healthcare is expensive. Absolutely, because you know what? They estimate, Joe, that it costs about $100,000 to take care of one person with dementia for 1 year. Now think about what I just told you. And Alzheimer's and any form of dementia is just booming. And guess what? Here come the baby boomers. How much dementia and Alzheimer's do you think they're going to have? So $100,000, I think I just heard that not too long ago, that how many they were estimating were going to have dementia, but it was like 133,000 people multiplied by 100,000, and it put the dollars up into the trillions. That's pretty crazy. Penny, I'm absolutely going to get you the names of those books. You're going to have a lot to choose from. I've got most of the article written up, and it's going to come out in the email, or I'm going to post it on the website as well. So I'm going to look through some comments and see if there's any questions that I can answer quick, but I really appreciate you guys all being here and listening to me ramble on about sugar. Don't think that we all don't fight against sugar. It's addictive. It is absolutely addictive and it's hard to break. You got to just eat the good things first, and then there's not so much room for that other stuff, and you have to choose better. Rhonda says she avoids juice for the most part. Do a special mixture once a week: aloe, coconut water, a little bit of orange juice, pineapple juice, and apple cider vinegar. Okay, anything to hide that apple cider vinegar. I know there's some of you guys who love it, and I'm trying to drink more of it and put it in things, and I taste it in everything, and it's not my favorite. So I'm working on that. One step at a time. Chris, you say, I wish I could do it. Don't wish, just start. Just start doing it. Do less. Start with the first challenge that I gave you. Only water this week. If you can cut out sugary drinks, you are far ahead of all of the competition. Okay? Just cut out the other things that you're drinking. Let's see. Anybody else? Sugar makes me hurt after a couple of days, for sure, because it makes you inflamed. It actually uses up and depletes some good ingredients that are anti-inflammatory in your body, and then the result is you're more inflamed and you start to hurt. Yes, absolutely. Question was, is insulin resistance a step towards diabetes? Absolutely. And truly, if you're in the pre-diabetes stage, if your doctor has told you that, you're already diabetic. You need to change your sugar intake. People are diagnosed with diabetes, but are actually diabetic at least 2 years before they get the diagnosis. It's dumb to say you're pre-diabetes. That's the time to say, you're in a world of trouble, dude. You better start changing what you're putting into your body, or you're going to be diabetic and then you've got all these other health conditions to worry about. It's really a window to say, you need to do some changes in your life. And I know they're going to be hard, but you've got to do them. But what happens is you sit in that category of pre-diabetic until they say, oh, darn it, you're diabetic. Here's your medication. Does medication for diabetes reverse diabetes? Nope, it doesn't. It just tries to lower the blood sugar. You still get insulin resistant. You still end up needing more. You have to change your diet. You have to change your sugar, and you have to lose weight. And then you can reverse your diabetes. It's possible. I've seen people do it. So don't be afraid of it. You've got to embrace it. Okay, so I'm just looking, can you naturally cure insulin resistance? Okay, Jennifer, great question, but let's think about it a little bit differently. We don't want to cure insulin resistance. We want to eliminate it. And we eliminate it by lowering the sugar, which lowers the insulin. When there isn't a ton of insulin just circulating and looking for a job and looking for doors, and they're saying, hey, pick me, I'm ready to do that job, and there's too much insulin, that's when we get insulin resistance. So we can eliminate that. It's not a disease. It's a cascade of a problem. So yes, decrease the blood sugar. You got to cut the sugar. The insulin will go down and insulin resistance will go away. Yes, absolutely. So what happens if you don't eat sugar and you still don't see the positive result? You will. If you don't eat sugar, so the only people, Becky, that would be different in is somebody where their pancreas isn't working right and secreting insulin, because you can not eat sugar 100%, okay? Because you eat a vegetable, do you get some sugar from a vegetable? Yes, you do, always, okay? So, because it gives us energy. So even if you only ate vegetables, you still are getting some sugar. Your body still has to secrete some insulin, and then as long as you're using it in the cells, you're great. It's that excess that then gets stored as fat because you didn't use it. So the only time I would say that you wouldn't see positive results if you cut all of that excessive amount of sugar, the sucrose and the fructose and all that I went through, that is when their body's not working right. So they were born with diabetes. They were born insulin dependent and they need to wear a pump, and then they're getting man-made insulin. And in that type of scenario, they may eat very, very clean and not eat any sugar, but still have difficult times controlling their blood sugar. So that's completely different. The great majority of people are in this boat that we're talking about right now. If you know of somebody specifically, I'd challenge, or we could talk more specifically about that person, and then maybe I can give you a more in-tuned answer to that. Yes, some herbs do help to reverse cravings. Penny, you're familiar with gymnema. Gymnema does alter your sense of taste for sweets. So that's something that is often helpful. Things like cinnamon and, I'm forgetting now. It's on the tip of my tongue. Chromium are two things. Did you see it? Did you see the chromium on the tip of my tongue? Because I saw it. Cinnamon and chromium are two things that help your cells not be insulin resistant. They help the insulin receptors become more sensitive. That's the positive way to say it. Cinnamon on a regular basis, as well as chromium, are two needed ingredients to help your insulin receptors be more sensitive. And Judy says, thank you for this to point education on how and what sugar does to a person and how to know if a person is insulin resistant. Well, you're very welcome, Judy. Thanks for listening. Yes, stay away from fructose, number one. Awesome. 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 Thank you guys so much for being here. It's already been 40 minutes and I'm going to wrap it up for tonight. We're going to talk more about high fructose corn syrup, not like we did tonight, but just where it is, the foods that it's in, things that you need to change in your pantry and your kitchen, okay? So I hope to see you then. I'll talk to you again soon. Good night. Sleep well.